last time. I want to make sure. See, that's what I appreciate. Let me go. Is that better? Better, Chad. Got my mic right here. I haven't done enough live streams. I plan on doing more. Somebody go ahead and comment and let me know if it's better. My mic is doing better, please. My goal tonight is to go over some of my teams as well. Sound effects too loud. There shouldn't be any. Mic's up. How about now? Let me see. Now I can hear myself, so it should be fine. How about now? Let me see. Yeah, it sounds like we're good now. Now I can. All right, thank you guys for working through that with me. That's what happens because I don't do enough live streams, but it looks like we got it figured out. I'm good now. That's 3 confirmations in a row. Hey, man, don't be coming here with that WTF energy, Sid. What's wrong with you? No, I'm just playing. That's my boy. Diamond tier right there. That's what you guys are trying to be. You're trying to be diamond tier like my boy Sid. I'm trying to be good like him. All right, so I'm here to answer some questions. I'm here to chat with you guys. I'm here to hang out. Hopefully I can get this done at least every other weekend. That's my goal. Interact with you guys, answer your questions, learn about your teams, show you my teams. And you can see so far, looks like I'm having a fairly decent week. Not in this league because I started with Damian Lillard and he's been absolutely slaughtering me. Regretfully, because Damian Lillard is one of the most consistent players, but it looks like I did not take that injury he had during the Olympics seriously enough. Oh, come on, really? Well, my Yahoo decided to crap out. Well, there we go. So, yes. It's been a rough start for my overstated league. I thought I put together a good team, but they all seem to not be performing. As you can see here, Damian Lillard missed 5 of his 20 shots, and he's been atrocious so far, considering I could have had Karl Anthony Towns. Kind of regretting it, but we're in this is the second week of the season. It's far too early to make any desperation moves. So I'm probably not going to move him, but it's starting to feel a little dicey. All right, guys, we're going to wait for more people to join us, and hopefully we can get some questions, or you guys can just stare at me awkwardly. If that works for you. I'll just sit here silently, drinking my wine. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Sometimes it's hard to know what you can say and can't say. So for all intents and purposes, this is grape juice. Well, anyway, since I really don't have anyone asking questions, I offered you the floor. Again, if you want to ask questions, now's the time. because if more people join, it might get busy in here. So we'll go over some of my teams, how they're performing so far. Let's see. Let's discuss the Barack Lesnar Hoops Discord ones. Why don't we do that? This is my 20-team league. All right, so see, we got a question from RJD for 9Cat. You think Fox for MPJ is good? Sounds about equal, I think, at their best. You're probably looking at second round value for either one. So in that situation, I'd say, do you need point guards? If you have a lot of point guards and maybe you need someone who's going to give you more rebounding, more consistent percentages, even though we're not seeing that right now, the man just got over $200 million. My guess is he's going to figure it out sooner rather than later. So it comes down to your positional flexibility. I'd say point guards are a little harder to find than swing players like Michael Porter Jr. So it depends on what you need. I'd value them pretty close to each other, though. Would you trade Donovan and Melton for Luka in an ESPN points 10 team? I would absolutely do that trade, especially in a 10-team league, because chances are you can find someone that's as good as DeAnthony Melton's on your waiver wire. So you'd be looking at Luka Doncic and whoever you pick up for Donovan Mitchell and DeAnthony Melton. I think that's a good move, especially in a points format. Luka's weaknesses do not hurt you as much in that format. What other questions do we have? Is McDaniels a keeper in a 16 team? In a 16 team, I'd say he has enough upside that it doesn't hurt you to hold on to him, because your waiver wire is probably very bare in a 16-team league. So it's all relative. If there's not better options on the wire, hold on to him because he does have upside. But if there's someone hot that all of a sudden appears on your waiver wire, I think he's cuttable. What kind of value does Sexton have? I need someone to give me those extras like steals, assists, etc. I like Colin Sexton because you can grab him later than a lot of the scorers that have the ability to put up 24, 25 points per game. Steals and blocks is not something I pick him for. I expect him to get me some threes, and I expect him to give me decent enough percentages. And like I've told you guys before, I prefer grabbing him. We're not really drafting anymore, but I would draft him around the 60s rather than someone like Devin Booker in the 20s, because neither one's really going to give you steals or blocks. Booker's going to give you better percentages, but you had to pick him like 40 picks earlier. So if you're looking for steals and blocks, that's not something you're going to get from Sexton. But I do like the idea of combining him with guys like Matisse Thybulle, Nerlens Noel, who get you a lot of steals and blocks. And then you can offset that with a scorer like Colin Sexton. All right, so from Rome, who would you build with? Tatum and Young. Who would you build with, Tatum and Young? Have John Collins, Jaren Jackson Jr., Lonzo Ball, Covington, Jalen Green, Thybulle, Markkanen, Caruso, Reggie Jackson. Looks to me like you're doing a really good job already. Honestly, I love Lonzo Ball. I love Jaren Jackson Jr. I love John Collins. Those are all players I highly recommend. Robert Covington, not as high on him this year as I've been in the past. Jalen Green, super upside. Matisse Thybulle, I just name dropped him. Lauri Markkanen is having a surprisingly good season, and his minutes appear to be safe because he is playing small forward. Caruso, I'm huge on. I really like his assist and steals potential. Reggie Jackson, I'm not as big on. I'd say if you have one weak link, it's probably Reggie Jackson, just because I don't like that he doesn't really get you any significant steals. His percentages tend to be spotty. He did play really well in the playoffs, and the opportunity is there for him, but I prefer guards that get me more steals and blocks. And absolutely, it's very hard to get players in the 16-team league. This right here that you're looking at is a 20-team league. And if you like this league, it is part of my Barack Lesnar Hoops Discord server. It's a little late now, but there are leagues that are organized in that server, and you have to be part of the server to join them. So in the future, if any leagues open up and you're interested in being a part of them, I highly, highly suggest joining my Discord server. Most of my videos have a link in the description. Since we're on a live stream, I probably won't have time until later to share that with you. But anyways, what are some of my other teams that we can discuss until I get a couple more questions from you guys? And if you're watching this stream, go ahead and do me a favor and smash that like button. If you're asking me a question right now, then that means you are a subscriber. I have this set up to subscriber only because I really want these chats to be for the people who support the brand, who support the movement. And that's you, my fellow loyal subscribers. All right. Bear with me one moment, guys. All right. It is still Halloween. I'm not going to lie, I didn't buy this hat for Halloween, but if anyone asks, that is why I have it. Happy Halloween to you, Mr. Romero. How are you doing? Sid the Kid, putting Sexton on the trading block. Who should I aim for is what I'm asking, brother. All right, well, thank you for clarifying. All right, so yes, I got that, Sid. I knew you were saying aim. So who can you trade for Colin Sexton? See, that I would have to think a little bit more on. Let me think about it a little bit because I don't want to give you a wrong answer. I'm trying to see who you could possibly get. Well, first, you would want to identify which teams in your league are short on point guards. That'd be the start. And then I'd identify teams that have a build where it looks like they need another scorer. Then at that point, you kind of have to reverse engineer from there because you want to work with the people who would value him the most, and the people who would value him the most are the people who could use him in their build. So you're talking about people who want scores or people who are low on point guards and maybe have an abundance of a different position that you need. So then it comes down to what are the holes on your team that you're trying to fill. You said you want steals and blocks. So that's going to... Jaren Jackson Jr. comes to mind. He's somebody that's been underperforming. He definitely can get you steals and blocks, and he's going to get you threes. And his field goal percentage has been pretty poor. So I think a Jaren Jackson Jr. owner would give him up for Colin Sexton, especially if Colin Sexton has a really good game. That's an idea. You can DM me and we could talk about it more because you got it like that. Marcus Smart is an idea as well. I don't know if I would go that route. If I had Sexton, I think I would keep Sexton, personally speaking. You are very welcome. All right, what other questions do we have? Man, I am losing bad in the 20-team league. Well, you're going to do a lot better because my man dropped Tobias Harris. But at Barack Lesnar Hoops, we have compassion and we let him get him back because he dropped him by mistake. Unless he's an incredibly unreasonable person, because only an incredibly unreasonable person would ever drop Tobias Harris in a 20-team league. All right. I'm only seeing 5 likes. Really, guys, on Halloween, I broke out a cowboy hat. New intro for you guys. First live stream of the season that actually has audio that works. I think that deserves at least a couple more likes. Or how about a couple more questions? Otherwise, I'll just go back to talking about my teams if you guys don't want to ask me anything. Here is another one of the leagues we organized in my Barack Lesnar Hoops Discord server. This was a points league, and I believe, how many teams is it? I have so many leagues I forget. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is a 10-team league. I just picked up Cole Anthony. So these guys were definitely sleeping on that because there's absolutely no way I should have been able to pick up Cole Anthony October 30th, considering how he's been playing. I dropped Drummond for Scotty Barnes. And I ended up dropping DeAnthony Melton for Will Barton just because he's been producing more points. And so far in this league, I'm doing incredibly well. So here's my secret, guys. I care really much about winning. I love my channel. I love making content, but I don't care any less about winning my leagues than I did when I didn't have a channel. And I think that's what differentiates me from a lot of other content creators. They care more about the content that they're creating rather than being a beast at fantasy basketball. Like being a beast at fantasy basketball, and then I like talking about being a beast at fantasy basketball. Though I will admit, last year at my subscriber draft, I got my butt kicked. 2 years in a row, my hardest drafts have been my subscriber leagues, my cash leagues, because these guys, you'll see my queue in the beginning of the draft, and you just see the players disappear from my queue before we've even reached the 100s. Pretty much every big man is off the board, and I take that as validation that my hardest competition is you, my subscribers. Joe Ingles or Tate? Definitely going to go with Joe Ingles on that one. Who should I try and trade Donovan Mitchell for in a 10-team ESPN points? Well, I know somebody tried to offer me Donovan Mitchell and Kyrie Irving in a keeper. It's a 10-team keeper league, and they offered me Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell for my Anthony Davis, and I shot it down. So don't go for Anthony Davis. Who can you trade? 10-team ESPN points. I mean, Donovan Mitchell has a lot of name value. So even if he's underperforming a bit, it's a name that's synonymous with quality fantasy basketball production. So he should have decent enough value. So it comes down to, what your preference is. What exactly is it that you're looking for? Is there a specific position that you're weak in, that you're trying to be stronger in? You guys shouldn't make moves for the sake of making moves. Your moves should be strategic. You should figure out what the holes on your team are. Are there certain positions you're not strong enough in? Like if an injury happened, would you be able to stay afloat, or would you be way too thin at that position? If you have that situation, then you want to consider players that have similar value to the player you're trading. And you also want to seek people who maybe are in the situation where the player you're trading would shore up one of their holes. And Yahoo has a really cool tool. Let me see if I can find it. But it's supposed to tell you now. I believe it might be on the app on your mobile device, but it's supposed to tell you the weaknesses of the other teams in your league and even suggest who trade partners are for you that you can target based on their weaknesses and your strengths. But anyways, in this league, I'm in first place. And I started this one with... Man, my internet is on something else right now. All right, so Luka Doncic is who I started with. Paired him with LaMelo Ball. I grabbed Brandon Ingram, John Collins, Jonas Valanciunas, Montrezl Harrell, who I grabbed incredibly late, and he's been absolutely crushing it. He was one of my favorite sleepers late in drafts, and he's absolutely been performing like the fantasy stud he was when he was with the Clippers. I predicted that we would see a similar situation to what we saw with Ivica Zubac, and that's exactly how it's played out. Now, Daniel Gafford has missed the last few games with a knee injury, I believe it is, but even when he comes back, I don't see Montrezl Harrell not getting playing time. Not only that, check out their record. Win. They're 5 wins, 1 loss. And this is a team that barely made the playoffs last year. So if they're bound for the playoffs and Montrezl Harrell is a big part of that, I expect his role to be solid the remainder of the year. After draft day, I never used a desktop site. I only used a mobile app. The reason I can never give up my browser version, I really love the Fantasy Basketball Wizard Chrome extension. And I don't have it on an app. I don't have it on the mobile device app, but I absolutely love it. You can't see it right now. Actually, you can, because you can see the projections, and sometimes I get bored and I'll go forward a couple of weeks and see how I'm projected to do. It probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's fun to go and start planning ahead and maybe seeing if there's anything that I need to address in the future in order to make sure that I'm competitive with everyone in the league. That's one of the benefits of using my browser. If you do like the Fantasy Basketball Wizard Chrome extension, I highly suggest checking it out. All right, so for Patrick O'Hare, I have too many guards on my squad. Harden, Lonzo, McCollum, Garland, Melton, Rubio, Duarte, Jalen Green, Wagner, Alexander Walker. Who would you drop for better roster flexibility at a center? Out of that list you gave me, that's a really good list of players. Out of all of those, Duarte, I wouldn't drop him. It probably would end up being Alexander Walker. How will Zion affect Jonas? That is a great question. So, Zion operates near the basket. So does Jonas Valanciunas. So, that does give me concerns with the fit. But overall, I think they can make it work. Maybe Jonas won't be as good as he is, but I still think he'll be really good. If anything, that two-headed monster might be really effective. There'll be some suspect spacing between them, and they'll get in each other's way in the paint. But I still think Jonas should have value long-term, and Jonas is a guy that we've seen play with guys like Jacob Poeltl in the past. We've seen him play with other bigs, and we've seen him come off the bench. So he provides value in almost any format. I wouldn't be too worried about Zion affecting his value all that much, especially if you drafted him in those middle rounds. It should be all profit. All right. Should I trade my Fournier Siakam for Capella? 8-team, 9 cat. I have too much points, 3s on my team, and I need more blocks, rebounds, but I might be giving too much for Capella. I don't think you're giving up too much. Remember, with an 8-team league, that is so shallow. Chances are you can find someone that's just as good as Evan Fournier on your waiver wire. And you're talking about Pascal Siakam, who might not be back for the next few weeks. Capella does come with his own issues, but last year we saw him absolutely dominating. He's a out of this world rebounder, and I think we're going to see him turn it on. Last year he started off pretty slow too, and then by the end of the season he was a world eater. So I don't think that's an awful trade. I think I would long-term prefer to keep Siakam. And in an 8-team league, just be creative and really go through your waiver wire, and you might find what you're searching for without having to give up anything. So you consider Jonas a sell high or he's a hold? I'd say he's a hold. I really like what Jonas Valanciunas brings to the table. He's a decent, he tends to have high field goal percentage. He tends to rebound really well. He tends to be a decent free throw shooter for a big man. He does get you a sprinkle of blocks, isn't a great shot blocker. And I think he can still contribute in all those areas. Maybe his points per game go down a little bit. I wouldn't sell high. I would hold on to him. And Jonas also tends to be one of those players that isn't a household name. So his fantasy value tends to be higher than his name value. So you might not get what you're searching for unless it's somebody that really knows fantasy basketball. And I know you play an expert league, so they might highly value him. I'd hold on to him, though, personally speaking. Should I drop Stewart for Melton? 18 points. I don't see why not. If you like Melton, go for it. Again, in an 8-team league, that is so shallow, you can find players as good as either one of those at any given moment. And people drop players a lot more frequently because, again, there's better value on the waiver wire. It's not like a deep league where there's really no options on the waiver wire for you. So I don't mind that move at all. What else you guys got for me? I'll show you some of my other leagues. Here is my Barack Lesnar Hoops Cash 22. This was a $50 buy-in to play. And this is my revenge year. I need to get revenge because I lost. I don't even think I made the playoffs last year. I had Kyrie. That was a headache. I had Luka Doncic. Then I ended up trading him. And then I ended up regretting trading him. My subscribers are just too badass. And I choked. What can I say? I got embarrassed. But this year, I'm coming for revenge. This is projecting me. Well, I won 6-3. I don't know why it's projecting 7-2. The week is over. But I like this team I put together. I built around Giannis Antetokounmpo and LeBron James, who has played like one game for me. But hopefully, once I get him up to speed and we get LeBron being LeBron, I really like this team's potential. That's another team I have Montrezl Harrell in, paired with Miles Turner, Jeremy Grant, Mike Conley, Mikal Bridges. So some decent talent for this being a pretty deep 14-team league. Do I think Dame is going to turn it around? Well, history would say yes. Dame is one of the most consistent fantasy basketball players almost his entire career. He came in as a rookie being a consistent player. Now, my only concern is we did hear that he's dealing with an abdominal injury that he could have had surgery on this past summer. He chose not to have the surgery and to play through it. If that's what's impacting his playing time, that does concern me, not going to lie. But my guess is if they're allowing him to play through it, it's because they believe he can be effective. It's only a couple of weeks into the season. If he's being this bad right now, I'm assuming at some point this season, we will see him get back to his averages and we'll see him blow up at some point and make up for lost time. So unless I'm getting a really good player back, I'm probably not going to give up Damian Lillard. And if you guys are enjoying this live stream, show me some love and smash that like button for me. If you want to see more of these live streams in the future, go ahead and do me a favor and leave me a comment. Also, let's do a poll. If anybody thinks of a good poll question, I will go ahead and make a poll. If you have a question about a player you want to trade, let's make that into a poll and see what the audience has to say. From Sanzir Hashim. Should I trade Rudy Gobert for Russell Westbrook and D'Lo in 9-cat 12 team? Should I trade Rudy Gobert for Russell Westbrook and D'Lo 9-cat 12 team? That is a lot of talent to get for Rudy Gobert, but Russell Westbrook and D'Lo are both flawed players. At that point, if you're grabbing them, you're essentially punting field goal percentage and you're punting turnovers. And you're giving up a whole lot of blocks and rebound. Well, not as much rebounding because of Russell Westbrook. But they can be pretty destructive. When they're good, they're really good. But they can also be very destructive, especially pairing those two together. I think they're talented enough that you can make it work. That is a decent enough offer for Rudy Gobert. But just keep in mind, Rudy Gobert helps you with your field goal percentage. They're going to tank your field goal percentage. They're going to help you with assists, something Rudy Gobert's not going to help you with. Gobert is going to rebound at a high level. The free throw percentage, none of them are decent free throw percentage shooters. At least the point guards, they're pretty bad. But relatively speaking, compared to Rudy Gobert, they're going to help you more than Rudy Gobert is. So I guess, again, it's going to come back to what is it? What are the holes on your team? Are you lacking in point guards? Because you're about to get two really good ones if you give up Rudy Gobert. But then would you be too thin at big men? Or do you have enough big men where it's still a position of strength for you? I would make my determination on that. How about if you offered Melo for Dame? Are we talking LaMelo, Anthony? If the Dame owner is desperate, they might consider it. There's nothing wrong with sending a buy low offer. Dame is not performing to where he was drafted, so they might not say yes, but I don't think that's a terrible offer to make for Dame. What player should we hold on to that's in IR like Clay? IR eligible players, definitely Pascal Siakam is one. And thankfully, it seems like, is it just me or has this season seemed a lot healthier? I really like to see that. I feel like last year, the first couple of weeks, like every night, some guy was getting a very serious injury. So far, it seems like the league has been healthier than it has been for the last couple of years. Hopefully, that remains the same. All right, so Charlie Davis. Was there a question before that I missed? All right, MPJ and Bazley for Harrison Barnes and Scotty Barnes. I prefer Harrison Barnes and Scotty Barnes. Give me the Barnes boys, to be completely honest. Harrison Barnes was good last year. He's playing good this year. And Scotty Barnes is a beast with a lot of upside. Doesn't really get you threes, but his steals and blocks numbers are really nice.
Dada.
Hi.
Oh, you my fist? That fist is from my fishing pool.
So, hey, Ezra. I'm not supposed to have children on my YouTube channel, but this is
that your hat on it?
That is my hat. Say hi.
Is that me with you?
That is you with me. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, buddy, go.
No, where's my fish?
Go.
No, wait, I need that fish first.
Okay, here. Sorry, guys. That's my little guy. He was not supposed to come in here, but he does what he wants. He runs me. All right. 14-team, 11-cat league. Jaren Jackson Jr. for John Collins worth. Also stashing Jamal Murray worth it. I think John Collins presents similar upside, but is slightly safer. So I would not hold it against you if you traded Jaren Jackson Jr. for John Collins. They help you in a lot of similar ways, but with John Collins, his field goal percentage has been a lot more consistent. His shot blocking potential isn't the same, but he does have that same ability to hit threes. And I think Atlanta's going to be competitive all season long, as is Memphis. I think there's still a question mark about Jaren Jackson Jr. staying healthy over a long period of time that we don't really have with John Collins. So similar upside, slightly safer. I'd give my blessing to that move. All right, let's see. I will be trading Paul George for depth in a 16-team head-to-head league. 9-cat league makes sense. Don't do that. Do not trade Paul George. Do not trade Paul George. I get the logic. Depth is very important in a deep league, but so is having someone like Paul George. I would not give up Paul George. There has to be somebody else you can give up for some depth. Funny thing about that kid you just saw, he was actually born the very first year I made this channel. He was born opening night. He was born October 15th on opening night. And he's 3 now. So that's how long I've been doing this channel. So it's kind of cool. What up, D-Woo? All right, let me get to these other questions you guys are asking. Gary Trent Jr. and Kevin Porter Jr. for Plumlee. I need field goal percentage and rebounds. Should I do it? Roto 12-team league. Gary Trent Jr. and I don't think Plumlee's enough. Plumlee's a low-end center. Gary Trent Jr. has been playing great, and he has way more upside, in my opinion, and so does Kevin Porter Jr. If you're going to give up those two, I think you can do better than Plumlee. I know you need field goal percentage and rebounds, but that doesn't mean you need to give up that much to get it. If you're diligent with the waiver wire, you could replace that. You can get that at some point. If you're just not happy with those players, I think you can get more than that for them. Kevin Porter Jr. dropped 50 points last year. So he has that sort of ability. I think you'd be giving him up for too cheap. Is Rocco a drop? Diwu? I know Sid the Kid won't believe this. Depends on who you're picking up. It depends your league, how deep it is. Are you talking like an 8-team league, a 10-team league, a 12-team league, and a 12-team league? I don't know. My concern is they got like Larry Nance Jr. now. They got Cody Zeller. They have a lot of players that provide similar things to Robert Covington, and I could see Robert Covington being impacted. In an 8-team league, 10-team league, I'd say he's droppable. In a 12-team league, I'd probably hold on a little longer. We saw it last year. It took him a while to get going, but when he did get going, he was getting you a lot of threes, a lot of steals, a lot of blocks, and those goodies help you win fantasy leagues. All right, let's see. What other questions we got? Thoughts on Keldon Johnson and Darius Garland? They have been very disappointing so far. I have Keldon Johnson in a few of my leagues. I'm going to go ahead and bring that league up. Keldon Johnson, I think he's going to be fine. I was just reading the other day that Coach Popovich said they're going to let him play through some growing pains, which to me shows if somebody like Greg Popovich is saying that they are very interested in his development. So I'd hold on to him. I think he's going to be really good. And last year we saw him start off with a blazing hot start. So far this year he struggled a bit. But again, still early on in the season, we're seeing the same thing with guys like Michael Porter Jr. It's just part of being a young player in the NBA. There's going to be some inconsistency. This is where I have Keldon Johnson in my Wakanda Panthers league. This is a dynasty league. I ended up winning the championship last year, which was very nice because one of the guys said that I was a fake fantasy basketball expert and that the experts in the industry make fun of me. And I said, well, maybe I can't beat them, but I can beat you. And I'm the champion. So I ended up with his money. And that was my response to that. And that's my response to anybody. And this is an open challenge to anybody, Josh Lloyd included, that if you think your fantasy basketball skills are better than mine, you know where to find me. Now, Sid, I won't mess with. Sid is too legit. From Sid, I don't want them problems. But anybody else, you can come get this smoke. Grayson Allen. Look at Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen, my quick tips, he was one of my first quick tips. And so far, 21% added in the last day. If you guys wanted to know that my quick tips have some value for you, the fact he was added 21% in the last day, and I told you about him, last week? Or very early this week? I think that's why you should have those bell notifications on, and that's the value I feel those bring. It's not me trying to be lazy or anything like that. It's really creating content that's going to help you, even if it's only a minute long. Yes, he knows this. Anybody that watches my channel and his knows this too. Honestly, I think his content is very appealing to casuals who don't know any better. I think if you're about this life, you're going to see the difference between the advice you get here and the advice you're getting in other places. Again, the drafts that I've been in with my subscribers are so stupid hard. That's all the validation I could possibly need. Can Mo Bamba keep it up? Hey, man, don't be talking about my uncle, Sid. You tripping. Anyways, can Mo Bamba keep it up? Well, I traded for Mo Bamba in this very same league. It's a dynasty league. I traded for him. He's ranked 14. Will he continue to be top 20? Maybe not. But I still think at worst he's going to be top 50. He's always had the potential. He has the length. He has the size. And guys that can hit threes and get you blocks like him just don't grow on trees. And he's incredibly young on a rebuilding team. That is the perfect formula for a player that can continue producing. And just that blocks and threes ability. We see this with Miles Turner. Like, Miles Turner has low-key kind of sucked so far this season, but he gets you enough threes and blocks where it just ends up helping you out a lot. That's why I value those categories so much. Hey, man, I'm telling you, that man don't want that smoke. What do you think about Franz Wagner? I probably said that wrong. Franz Wagner. Putting up decent numbers as a rookie. I like him a lot. I have him. It's a couple of leagues I have him in. I have him here for sure. Here he is. In Barack Lesnar. This is another one of my cash leagues. And I picked him up, and I don't plan on dropping him because the field goal percentage is nice. He's getting you 2 threes per game, getting you a steal, getting you over half a block, keeping the turnovers low. He's getting the playing time. Same situation with Mo Bamba on a rebuilding team, where right now their main priority is seeing who can be part of a future core that is competitive. And so far with the way he's playing, I think he's opening up significant playing time for himself in the long term. I like him a lot. He's somebody I would pick up, and if he falls off, then you move on. But for right now, I definitely would have him on most of my 12-team leagues if he were available. Thoughts on Josh Giddey this season in points league? I like him in all sorts of leagues, but specifically in a points league, he has the ability to score, get rebounds, get assists. We saw he could get steals, blocks, and that all is a great combination when it comes to a points league. And he's on a really bad Oklahoma City Thunder team, just same situation. I know I've told you guys this before, but you have, in the context of fantasy basketball, you have to consider what are the objectives of that team that season. There are teams, their objective is to win a championship. So they're going to rest key players. As long as they're high in the standings, they'll sacrifice a seed or two in order to have players healthy. That's a trend we've seen with the league. You have teams like Orlando and Oklahoma City that have absolutely no chance at the playoffs, and they know that. So their incentive is to get as high of a pick as possible. Now, don't quote me on that. I'm going to have to double check, make sure that Orlando, I know OKC has like 1 billion picks. I don't know if Orlando owns their pick. That's going to impact which route they go. But if they own their pick, eventually, if they suck enough, they're going to want the odds for a super high pick in the lottery to go up, which means guys that are young are going to have a lot of playing time. And if the team loses, they don't care because that ties in to what they're trying to do. I think Josh Giddey fits into that. Franz Wagner fits into that. Mo Bamba fits into that. I have Wendell Carter in my 14-team league. Who will lose most between him and Bamba if Isaac comes back? Good question. I would say it probably would be Franz Wagner who would be the most impacted if Jonathan Isaac comes back. I can see them playing Jonathan Isaac at the 3, and then I could see that impacting Franz. Wendell Carter Jr., Mo Bamba, I think they're going to be fine. Which 2 to hold in points leagues? Tyrese Maxey, Poole, Norman Powell, or Bobby Portis? I would say out of those, I'd say Maxey, and I'd say Norman Powell. Norman Powell, we've just seen him perform really well with the Raptors. We saw him perform really well when he got traded to the Blazers. He can be streaky, but when he's good, he's good. The reason I say Tyrese Maxey, It looks like if they trade Ben Simmons and don't bring a point guard back, he might be locked in as that starter, and I value that. If a guy's getting starter minutes, an opportunity to produce, I value that a lot. Bobby Portis, Bobby Portis is more of a role player. Brook Lopez has been out. Bobby Portis just got back. But when Brook is back, that's going to impact Bobby Portis' playing time. But the other side of the coin, like I just told you, the Bucks are worried about a championship and the playoffs. So if you own someone like Giannis or if you have Brook Lopez, then Bobby Portis makes sense because he's probably going to be the main beneficiary of either of those missing time. Miles Bridges has been amazing for me so far. You nailed the John Collins pick for me, Barack. Man, it's my bias. It's my bias for young players that get you threes and get you blocks. If you're young, get me threes and get me blocks, I'll fall in love. That's just the way it works. So, yes, here's one of my other teams that I'm having a lot of success with so far this week. I did have Ben Simmons, who finally got IR eligibility, and I threw his butt in there, and there he will stay until they figure out something with him. Sup, Uzi? You still messing with them points leagues and not categories, huh? Tell me that's not true, Uzi. My boy Uzi plays category leagues. Ain't that right? Man, how long have I been going already? All right, 48 minutes. I'll probably cut this at an hour. And let's do this again in the future. Let's make these more frequent. And in the future, we get a little paycheck and you want to do a little super chat or something for like a $2 or $3, I don't mind it. Not that I need the money, but it makes me feel good to know that you value my advice enough to give me a couple of bucks for it. Just imagine that I'm a young girl in college and you're James Harden. Did you guys see that video, by the way, when they asked James Harden about Lamarcus Aldridge joining an exclusive club with Kevin Durant and himself? And James Harden was like, "What club?" That was fun. Yeah, Uzi, we're gonna need you. We're gonna need you in a categories league, Uzi. That's the next step for you. Not good. Not a good look. 2-7. Ouch. And this is my $100 buy-in league. The team will be fine long term. At least that's the lie I'm telling myself. But man, ended up losing turnovers. Ouch. Hopefully Jalen Green gets me that turnover so I can go there. The block's not looking good for me. Maybe free throw percentage, I can still come back and win. But 2 rough weeks in a row for your boy. Robert Williams has been solid. Yes, he's a shot blocker that gets you steals and a really high field goal percentage. That is fantasy basketball gold. Is Poole a hold? What are we talking here? Are we talking a 12-team league? So I have Jordan Poole in my 14-team league, the one I showed you before, and I wouldn't drop him in a 14-team league. In a 12-team league, then yes, I think he's droppable in the 12-team league if there's better options, and his value strongly tied to the return of Klay Thompson. So personally speaking, if it's a 12-team league, depends on who you can pick up. Came by to smash that like. Thank you, Adrian. Much appreciated. Any final questions? We have about 9 minutes left before we wrap up. You know what? Let's do this. Why don't I give you guys a sneak peek of transaction trends for week number 3. I'll make a full video tomorrow, but for you guys, for staying up late to hang out with me, why don't we do it right now? We're going to go to the top ads. So the top ad right now is Maxi Kleber. Now, I'm assuming he's about to be the top drop when I make my video tomorrow because he played 7 minutes in a win. He got consistent minutes the 2 games before, had a 6-block game, but now he just got 7 minutes. I would probably hold off if it's like a 14-team league. Then yes, I would still probably pick him up because I think he'll probably be closer to 15, 20 minutes consistently. But after only getting 7 minutes, that's too inconsistent as far as the playing time for me to take the chance. Luke Canard played 33 minutes, 2 games in a row. He's been very streaky, very hit or miss, but the opportunity is there for him. And I read a report that the team in practice is like pretty much building practice around making him fine and forcing him to take shots. So the team is encouraging him to shoot. He seems a little gun shy, but the opportunity's there for him to produce. So I think he's somebody you're going to see on more rosters very, very soon. You can see here he's available practically in every single league that I have, including my overstated fantasy hoops. I might have to consider picking him up in that one. Kent Bazemore. Not a huge fan of Kent Bazemore, but he has shown in the past he can get threes and steals. So if you're in a deeper format, he's somebody you might want to consider. Corey Joseph. He's somebody I've been eyeing in some of my deeper formats. Patrick O'Hara with the $5 super chat. I cheers to you, my friend. Do you have a favorite punt build in 9-cat leagues this year? I'm a heavy punt build, punting field goal percentage, rebounds, blocks, and turnovers. I would highly advise against punting that much. And here's why. Let me explain to you why, Patrick. You are leaving yourself absolutely no room for error. None. You're punting 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 9 categories, which means you essentially have to win the 5 you're really good at. And when you have 12 different teams, you might have a couple of teams that suck in every category, but are really good in like 1 or 2 of the ones that you're supposed to be really good in. And now, just by adding 1 more category you just lost the week. My worry for you is you're going to have a lot of 4 or 5 weeks. You'll dominate 4 categories, but you're routinely losing 5 categories on a weekly basis. My favorite punt build, and I always tell you guys this, I punt assists. And if you want to see why, I suggest looking at the video I uploaded a few days ago. It was the top players owned in the top 500 Yahoo public leagues. So they're like the highest percentage owned players on the most successful teams on Yahoo. And time again, the players on that list are low usage, low assist guys that get you steals, blocks, threes, and decent percentages and low turnovers. Yes, you cannot punt. Take it from Sid and take it from me, because we've tried to be cute in the past and tried doing that, and it did not work out. Every week, you're just losing 5-4, and you're curious, and no, you're losing 5-4 every single week, and you don't know why. But that's why. You're punting too much. Punt assists, and everything else opens up. Because the moment you get rid of assists, you can load up on low usage guys that get steals and blocks. And you just say, forget assists. Because, let me ask you guys a question, and feel free to answer this. What is the functional difference between winning assists every week and losing turnovers every week? And winning turnovers every week and losing assists every week? Actually, I'll tell you why turnovers is better. Because if you're already punting assists, if your guys miss games because of injuries, then guess what? You already suck at assists. But your turnovers are just going to be lower, so you'll be even stronger in your turnover category. And if you load up on all the guys that are getting steals and blocks, there's only a handful of players in the NBA that are going to get you 3 steals and blocks. So if you manage to grab a good amount of them, other teams aren't going to have those players. So even if you're playing less games, you're so competitive in steals and blocks. And now, like I told you, you got the low turnovers. When your centers are hitting threes and you're grabbing guards that hit threes, the people who are grabbing centers that don't hit threes will be at a disadvantage. And a lot of the players I recommend, the bigs that get you those threes and those blocks, they tend to have really good free throw percentage. So if a team can beat you in blocks because they loaded up on guys that get you blocks but don't hit threes and have poor free throw percentage, then you can beat them in those categories even if they beat you in blocks. So my main punt is going to be assist. That's what works for me. And I think there's a lot of logic and mathematics behind it, even though I am a smooth brain and I wouldn't trust my mathematical opinions. So it's still not too late, Patrick. So a build, here's how you should view a build. A build can change. A build can change. You already drafted, so it's too late, to draft again. But you can tweak it as time goes on, and you can make trades, and you can try to maybe eliminate one of those categories you're punting. I'm assuming if you punted that many, there's a category or two you have an overabundance in. It's all about finding what those categories are. Who can you give up and still be strong in those categories to then find somebody who's going to help you in those areas you need to be stronger in. All right. We got about 1 minute left. I'll see if there's any other pickups. You know what? I'm dumb. I forgot to click all players, so we're not actually seeing the top ads. Oops. So, Cody Martin was the top pickup, and he was part of my waiver wire tip earlier, and I said he'll have value as long as, the team is injured. Terry Rozier is back, and now he got 15 minutes. He did get 2 blocks, which is nice, but chances are he's going to be dropped heavily tomorrow. I can almost guarantee it. He's going to go from one of the top ads to one of the top drops tomorrow. Carmelo Anthony had a 24-point game. A few games before that had a 28-point game. Can he keep it up all season? I don't know. But he's available in 41% of leagues. If you want to give him a chance, his percentages are really nice. And he is playing with Russell Westbrook and LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are going to draw a lot of defensive attention. So maybe we see a wine mellow performance. Lamarcus Aldridge followed up a 28-minute game with a 21-minute game, 16 points, 3 rebounds. Not a whole lot there, but he was just available in the Barack Lesnar Hoops Cash League, and somebody picked him up off the waiver wire. So if you're in a 14-team league or deeper, or just really desperate for a big in a 12-team league, Lamarcus Aldridge makes some sense for you. Grayson Allen, we already discussed him. I know Sid said he didn't want Grayson Allen, but you got to admit, the boy is putting up some fantasy basketball production. 5 3-pointers. The game before that had 4 3-pointers. We've seen him get a sprinkle of steals. And his field goal percentage isn't even good. If he gets that field goal percentage closer to average, he'll be even better. So, Kelly Oubre still only 63% owned. It is time to pick up Kelly Oubre. 6 3-pointers, 26 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and that is with the team mostly at full strength. So Kelly Oubre's role appears very secure. He's been a fantasy producer in the past, and he will continue to be a fantasy producer from the looks of it. There's no way this guy won't end the season in at least 80% of leagues. So if he's still available, which you can see here, He's still available in at least one of my leagues. I think that's an 8-team league. You want to give him a shot. Royce O'Neal is a decent glue player. As you can see here, he got you the 3, got you a steal, 2 blocks, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. That's garbage. But the goodies there are the steals, blocks, and the 3s. If he's available on your wire and you need a decent glue guy to bring your build together, Royce O'Neal is somebody I would consider. All right, I'm not going to give you all the goodies right now because there will be a video I will make for week number 3. If you haven't yet, smash that like button for me. Join the official Barack Lesnar Hoops Discord server. And be on the lookout because Barack Lesnar Hoops is going to have some sponsorship opportunities. And we're going to have some branded tournaments and daily fantasy that you can play with me. And I look forward to rolling that out. You should learn more about that later this week. But all right, guys, I'm going to call it a night. Go hang out with my little guy. Go hang out with the fam. A happy Halloween to all of you. Thank you for hanging out with me. One last question. What about PJ Washington on the wire? Good pickup this week? Absolutely. PJ Washington is somebody you should consider picking up. 2 solid games in a row. Here's that 3. Here's the 2 blocks. I told you guys, the guys that get you 3s and blocks do not grow on trees. So if he's available in your league because someone dropped him after the rough start, I know I dropped him in one of my 10-team leagues, but I still have him in my Barack Lesnar Hoops Expert League. And he's available in a few others where he could possibly help me as well. So let's check this one out. I believe this is the points league that I'm in. Yeah, so this is a points league. He's probably not the greatest points league player at this point, but in categories leagues, you could do a whole lot worse than PJ Washington if he's available. But all right, I'm leaving for real now. Until next time, this is Barack Lesnar of Barack Lesnar Hoops. Have a great night.